So, because I can't talk about how much I hate Gundam Seed or I'll cause the world to be thrust into an apocalyptic nightmare, I've decided to talk to you about something that I actually love. What is that, you might ask? That thing is Sailor Moon. Okay, now, I know what you're thinking. Sailor Moon? Really? Well, yeah, really. When I was a kid, I was completely and utterly obsessed with this. I had everything. I had the dolls, I had the toys. I had all the tapes you could have. I even forced my mom to sit there and tape every episode that I might miss. And this was back before the days of DVR. So actually taping something basically entailed sitting there and watching the whole damn thing.
Now, you're probably wondering, well, that's great, Nellie. It's good that you had a passion and everything, but why? Why Sailor Moon, of all things? Well, there are a few reasons for that.
Now, growing up in the 90s was great for a cartoon junkie such as myself. Some of the best cartoons ever seen on TV came out in the early 90s. And as great as these shows were, there was a distinct problem in most of them, and that was simply that there just weren't many shows that featured girls. I mean, there were a few. You had Your Little Mermaid, you had Hello Kitty, I think the Powerpuff Girls came out in the 90s, but that was really more of like a plotless parody and less of something with an actual story. What was really lacking in children's entertainment at the time was a show that featured a complex story, like something akin to Transformers, or Dragon Ball Z, or even Johnny Quest, just something that had good versus evil and something more than just tee-hee-hee, look at us. We're girls. Let's not do conflict. I mean, some female characters kicked ass. There was Carmen Sandiego. She was great. She was unfortunately a villain, though. What was lacking was really a female action hero. Someone who was female, who could who could kick ass and take names and was the protagonist of the show. It was just nowhere. And so, in a desperation to find an action show that was remotely interesting and not something I had seen before, that featured my own gender doing really epic things, I turned to Sailor Moon.
Now, admittedly, the show has a lot of flaws, and is, when you think about it, pretty damn stupid. A klutzy crybaby named Serena walks home one day and finds a cat with a crescent moon on its head who tells her that she is the reincarnation of a warrior named Sailor Moon, and that she must defend the Earth from the forces of the Negaverse while simultaneously trying to find the Moon Princess and her Silver Millennium, or Silver Imperium, or Silver Moon, or her Silver Crystal. Along the way, she's joined by a bunch of other girls with similarly annoying personalities, who turn out to be the reincarnated warriors as well. These girls come to be known as the theme song says,
Now, I am aware that the show is almost entirely different in its original Japanese, having been brutally taken apart during its American dub. I know, I actually own the third season of Sailor Moon on DVD in Japanese. But since this is sort of a retrospective look back, I'm gonna focus on the crappy English version from my childhood. Now, when I was a kid, Sailor Moon wasn't exactly the height of popularity. It was known, but it wasn't, Pinky in the Brain. People didn't wait on bated breath for the next episode of Sailor Moon unless you were a really hardcore fan. It was popular enough, though, to find actual VHS tapes of it at Toys R Us.
The tapes were usually just a collection of 2 episodes that came one right after the other, and were packaged with a name that might vaguely have something to do with the plot, like Good Queen, Bad Queen, or Evil Eye, or even A Moon Star is Born, but the one I had was the best. A 2-part epic called Secret Identities.
This is when shit finally started hitting the fan on this show. Sailor Moon was gonna reveal her identity to the shadowy, if somewhat useless, tuxedo mask. The Moon Princess was finally gonna get revealed. Spoiler alert, it's Sailor Moon. And, the battles with the Negaverse suddenly became like 10 times more epic in this season. I watched this tape like 6,000 times when I was a kid. I'm surprised the thing still works, to be honest. It's the 2-parter that I know better than anything else in the series, and I'd like to share it with you. Whether you like it or not.
Skipping the useless preview at the beginning, we open with the theme song, which is one of the most memorably stupid songs in the history of television. I mean, listen to these lyrics. Fighting evil by moonlight, winning love by daylight? What does that even mean? And never running from a real fight? Seriously? The whole point of Serena's character is that she's a cowardly crybaby forced into impossible odds. She runs from fights all the time. Whatever. The actual episode begins at the end of the previous one, where Sailor Venus has just appeared out of nowhere and saved their asses. Everyone's pretty appreciative of this, and Mercury points out that her appearance makes them now a complete team.
Yes, now we're finally a full-fledged team. The Sailor Scouts.
Really? You're not gonna wait for, like, Sailor Neptune or Saturn or hell, even Sailor Planet X? I mean, you've got 4 inner planets, a moon, and a gas giant. That doesn't exactly scream complete to me.
Enough with the warm, fuzzy moments. Time to cut to the chase. Those guys from the Negaverse aren't fooling around.
Oh yeah, I forgot the cats talk.
So Sailor Venus flies away despite the fact that Sailor Scouts can't fly, and we cut to the evil lair of the Negaverse, where Queen Beryl is berating her highest generals, Malachite and Zoisite, for not getting the magical MacGuffin crystals from Tuxedo Mask. Zoisite says she'll kill him to make up for it, but Queen Beryl won't have it, stating quite plainly that she wants Tuxedo Mask front, center, and alive.
He can be of great value to us.
But we don't know who he is.
Yes, he clearly couldn't be that tall, handsome man who's always hanging around Serena, who coincidentally looks just like Sailor Moon. No, that couldn't be it.
But whatever. Beryl says she knows who Tuxedo Mask is, and suddenly we're in the apartment of Darian Shields, aka Tuxedo Mask, who was injured at the previous episode and failed to save Sailor Moon and the other scouts in time.
Why was I so blind?
I don't know, it couldn't be that clearly not transparent mask you're always wearing?
If it weren't for Sailor Venus, I would have handed over the crystals to the Negaverse.